Hello, good evening. Welcome back to the Southern Bible Thumper channel. For this upload, we will be reading Judges chapter 3. Now, these are the nations which the Lord left to prove Israel by them, even as many of Israel as had not known all the wars of Canaan, only that the generations of the children of Israel might know, to teach them war, at least such as before knew nothing thereof, namely 5 lords of the Philistines, and all the Canaanites, and the Sidonians, and the Hivites that dwelt in Mount Lebanon, from Mount Baal Hermon unto the entering in of Hamath. And they were to prove Israel by them, to know whether they would hearken unto the commandments of the Lord, which he commanded their fathers by the hand of Moses. And the children of Israel dwelt among the Canaanites, Hittites, and Amorites, and Perizzites, and Hivites, and Jebusites. And they took their daughters to be their wives, and gave their daughters to their sons, and served their gods. And the children of Israel did evil in the sight of the Lord, and forgot the Lord their God, and served Balaam and the groves. Therefore the anger of the Lord was hot against Israel, and he sold them into the hand of the Cush and Rishathaim king of Mesopotamia. And the children of Israel served Cushan Rishathaim 8 years. And when the children of Israel cried unto the Lord raised up a deliverer to the children of Israel, who delivered them, even Othniel, the son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother. And the Spirit of the Lord came upon him, and he judged Israel, and went out to war. And the Lord delivered Cushran Rishathaim, king of Mesopotamia, into his hand, and his hand prevailed against Cushran Rishathaim. And the land had rest 40 years. And Othniel, the son of Kenaz, died. And the children of Israel did evil again in the sight of the Lord. And the Lord strengthened Eglon, the king of Moab, against Israel, because they had done evil in the sight of the Lord. And he gathered unto him the children of Ammon and Amalek, and went and smote Israel, and possessed the city of palm trees. So the children of Israel served Eglon, the king of Moab, 18 years. But when the children of Israel cried unto the Lord raised them up a deliverer, Ehud the son of Gera, a Benjamite, a man left-handed, and by him the children of Israel sent a present unto Eglon, the king of Moab. But Ehud made him a dagger which had 2 edges, of a cubit length, and he did gird it under his raiment upon his right thigh. And he bought Oh no! And he bought the present unto Eglon, king of Moab, and Eglon was a very fat man. And when he had made an end to offer the present, he sent away the people that bare the present. But he himself turned again from the quarries that were by Gilgal, and said, I have a secret errand unto thee, O king. Who said, Keep silence? And all that stood by him went out from him. And Ehud came unto him, and he was sitting in a summer parlor, which he had for himself alone. And Ehud said, I have a message from God unto thee. And he arose out of his seat. And Ehud put forth his left hand, and took the dagger from his right thigh, and thrust it into his belly. And the haft also went in after the blade, and the fat closed upon the blade, so that he could not draw the dagger out of his belly, and the dirt came out. Then Ehud went forth through the porch, and shut the doors of the parlor upon him, and locked them. When he was gone out, his servants came, and when they saw that, behold, the doors of the parlor were locked, they said, Surely he covereth his feet in his summer chamber. And they tarried till they were ashamed, and behold, he opened not the doors of the parlor. Therefore they took a key and opened them, and behold, their lord was fallen down dead on the earth. And Ehud escaped while they tarried, and passed beyond the quarries, and escaped into Syria. And it came to pass, when he was come, that he blew a trumpet in the mountain of Ephraim, and the children of Israel went down with him from the mount, and he before them. And he said unto them, Follow after me, for the Lord hath delivered your enemies, the Moabites, into your hand. And they went down after him, and took the fords of Jordan toward Moab, and suffered not a man to pass over. And they slew of Moab at that time about 10,000 men, all lusty, and all men of valor, and there escaped not a man. So Moab was subdued that day under the hand of Israel, and the land had rest 80 years. And after him was Shamgar the son of Anath, which slew of the Philistines 600 men with an ox goad, and he also delivered Israel. Summarizing Judges chapter 3, I want to make it clear what generation of Israel that we're talking about. In Judges chapter 2, verse 10, the second generation of Israel out of Egypt have all died out. And by the time we get to Judges chapter 3, we're dealing with the new generation. The significance of this is we're going to see that Israel keeps returning to idol worship, but we're not talking about the same group of Israel who experienced the plagues in Egypt. So, just a quick recap. The first generation, who I've been referring to as the first generation of Israel, they experienced slavery in Egypt. They were under the leadership of Moses. Once they left Egypt, they crossed the Red Sea and they lived in the wilderness under Moses' leadership. By Numbers chapter 26, we are notified that that group of people have died out. And by Numbers chapter 26, we have only the second group. So this is the group of Israel that were born in the wilderness, and they were under Moses' leadership until Moses died, and then Joshua took over, and they entered in Canaan under Joshua's leadership. When we get here to Judges chapter 2 verse 10, that second generation has died out. So now we have the third generation who was born in Canaan. They know nothing. They have no tangible experiences the same way their forefathers did. And so they're foreigners living in a land that already have their established religious systems. When we look at verses 1 through 5 in Judges chapter 3, we see that the Bible is telling us that the Lord left these nations to test Israel to make sure that they would follow God's commands, which, when we look at who wrote the book of Judges, it's credited to the prophet Samuel. The thing about this is, when we look at chapter 1, and I made this, I touched on this in Judges chapter 1 in that video. There were several times when Israel was told to drive out these people once they got on this territory. And when we look at, chapter 1, Judges chapter 1, we see that Manasseh did not drive out the inhabitants. Ephraim did not drive out the inhabitants. Zebulun did not. Asher did not. Naphtali did not. The only two groups of Israel who had a problem where their capacity was affected was Dan and Judah. So I made that a point. Could not reference his capacity. It means that the capacity exceeds the task. The capacity is not enough to complete the task. Did not just refers to the action. So the action was not completed. That's all did not means. It could be because of the capacity, but it could also be that they just didn't do this. The significance of them not driving him out is because when we get to Judges chapter 3, now we're saying that these people were left because God wanted to test Israel, possibly. But I just want to point out all this information that's there. Okay, great. So these groups of people are left. They're supposed to test Israel to see if they'll keep the commands. We get to verse 6 and we see that they do not, and they begin to intermarry with the Canaanites. Verse 7, the people did what was evil in the sight of the Lord, and they began to serve other gods. Verse 8, God became angry with them, and they became enslaved to the king of Mesopotamia for 8 years. The people cried out to God, and God raised up a deliverer. His name was Othniel. Othniel is the same man in Judges chapter 1 that Caleb offered to his daughter's hand in marriage if there was a man that could conquer a city. Othniel led a successful he was successful in conquering the territory that Caleb wanted, and he married Caleb's daughter. Okay, so then in verse 10, God was with him and he judged Israel. He was able to lead a successful he was successful against this king as well. and then the land had rest for 40 years. After that, Othniel died. So, verse 12, Israel again went back to idol worship. And then King Eglon of Moab enslaved Israel for 18 years. Verse 15, the people cried out to the Lord, and the Lord raised up a deliverer, another leader, Ehud. He was a descendant of Benjamin, and he was a left-handed man. So the people sent tribute by him. What this is saying is there was a plan devised for this man, Ehud, to bring some sort of elaborate gift to the king. But under his clothes, he had a sword. So he presented the tribute, the elaborate gift to the king. And then Ehud tells the king that he has something secret he needs to talk to him about. So, whatever happened, he was able to convince the king to make all of the attendants and extra people leave so that it was just Ehud and King King Eglon. So Ehud, once he got him alone, stabbed him in the belly, and it says the king was a very fat man. That detail is mentioned. But also, once he stabbed this man, the dung came out, meaning he was disemboweled. The refuse came out, the waste came out, his bowels empty, the dirt came out, his entrails. So he stabbed him so badly that he disemboweled him. Um, he also left, and the doors. So Ehud, after stabbing the guy, left the area. This is seems like it's referencing a room in the king's home was locked, and when you click on it, the latrine, the latrine means the bathroom. Um, so, however this was done, it seems like after he left, the an area that should have been private was made to seem like it was in use. So, as he made his escape, they his attendants discover that he's actually not using the private area, he's dead. And so as they're making this realization, Ehud gathers up Israel to go to war. And so they attacked the Moabites, and about 10,000 of them died, and Moab was subdued for 80 years. So that was Ehud. Then we get to verse 31. After him was a man named Shamgar, who killed 600 Philistines with an ox goad. And an ox goad is a cattle prod. And he also saved Israel. So that is all I have for Judges chapter 3. Thank you so much for clicking on the video. I love you. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Have a wonderful day. Some